Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are going to solve an incredibly frustrating problem using some direct insights from the automotive experts at Gasitlift over in Gauteng. So, picture this. You've got your hands completely full of groceries. You pop the boot, and the whole thing just slowly sinks back down and smacks you right on the head. Or, maybe you literally have to heave the lid up with all your strength just to get it open. Sound familiar? Well, today we're breaking down the surprisingly fascinating mechanics of what's actually happening back there and exactly how you can fix it.
Okay, let's dive right into this highly relatable issue. If your boot lid drops on its own, if it takes way more effort to lift than it used to, or if you constantly have to prop it open with whatever random broomstick happens to be lying around in your garage, you are definitely in the right place. Practically all drivers are going to experience this exact issue at some point. And, it's so easy to assume the absolute worst about your vehicle's health when a massive, heavy piece of metal suddenly stops behaving the way it's supposed to.
Because we do assume the worst, right? But we really need to debunk a massive misconception here. A sinking boot lid almost never points to a catastrophically broken hinge or a ruined, insanely expensive body panel. People often panic. They search for a solution online and just assume a failing lid means they need to replace the whole entire boot panel. But in the vast majority of cases, your panel is perfectly fine. The real culprit? It's almost always just a worn-out gas strut. It's a small, totally manageable component failure that just feels like a massive structural issue.
So what exactly is this unsung hero of your car? Essentially, it's a sealed steel cylinder containing highly pressurized nitrogen gas that's trapped behind a piston. This ingenious little device is what actually pushes the boot lid open and flawlessly holds it there, completely eliminating the need for a manual catch or a prop rod. Technically speaking, a boot strut is a type of gas spring. It operates on the exact same basic mechanism that you'd find in your office chair or hospital beds or even heavy industrial machinery. It's just specifically scaled and rated for automotive use.
And the physics happening inside that little cylinder? Beautifully simple. Step 1. When you push the boot down to close it, you're compressing that trapped nitrogen gas. Step 2. When you release the latch to open it back up, that newly compressed gas pushes right back against the piston, doing all the heavy lifting for you and holding the lid at full extension. But the real beauty of this design is actually what it lacks. There's no metal spring to fatigue and snap over time. Plus, under normal conditions, there's no fluid or lubricant that leaks out. Because of this elegant setup, a correctly rated strut should actually outlast the rest of your boot mechanism.
So what happens when years of heat, age, and constant opening and closing finally take their toll and wear down that internal seal? I know a lot of DIY auto enthusiasts immediately wonder, hey, can I just fix the pressure myself? Maybe pop it open, patch it up, or pump a little bit more gas back in to save a few bucks. It makes sense. It's a very logical question to ask when you're trying to be resourceful.
But the simple answer? Absolutely not. Once that internal nitrogen seal goes, a leaking or weakened boot gas strut cannot be repaired. The entire cylinder is completely sealed at the time of manufacture. Trying to force it open or tamper with it is not going to fix your boot. And honestly, it just isn't safe. You need a full replacement. And that is exactly what the specialists at Gasitlift handle day in and day out across Gauteng. They replace the strut itself, so you don't have to touch the boot lid.
All right, let's move on to Section 1, choosing the right replacement and the 3 vital measurements. If you're going to replace it, you absolutely have to match the original specs. There is a very exact formula for getting a perfect fit. First up, you need the extended length. This ensures your boot opens fully so you aren't constantly bumping your head. Second, you need the compress length, which ensures the boot can actually latch and close properly. And finally, and this is arguably the most crucial one, the force rating, measured in newtons. This rating has to match the original lid's actual weight exactly. The team at Gasitlift actually confirms all these specific details just using your vehicle's year, make, and model before they even dispatch a part. It makes the installation a simple, straightforward swap.
Now let's talk about why you never, ever want to guess that Newton rating. If you put in a strut that's too strong, meaning it's rated way above your boot lid's actual weight, it is going to violently force the lid open way too fast. Even worse, it'll make the boot incredibly difficult to pull shut. That puts a tremendous amount of strain on the hinges over time and can cause some serious damage. On the flip side, if the strut is too weak, well, you're left exactly where you started, with a boot lid that drops unexpectedly or just slams shut on your fingers. You have to match the manufacturer's original intent perfectly.
Which brings us to Section 2, the insider secret, or the orientation rule. This is literally the #1 mistake people make when installing these parts themselves.
You absolutely must always fit the gas strut with the wider cylinder body facing up and the thinner rod end facing down. Why? Well, it's all about gravity. You want gravity to keep the internal lubricating oil resting directly right on the seal. If you mount it upside down with that rod facing up, you trap that internal oil away from the seal. What happens then? The seal dries out, it wears down incredibly fast, and you drastically shorten the life of your brand new strut. So always remember, wider body up, skinny rod down.
The really great news here is that provided you get that orientation right, the actual swap only takes a few minutes with just basic hand tools. Gasitlift includes fitting guidance with their sets, showing that step 1 is to support the boot lid securely. Please never skip this step or it will crash right down on you. Step 2. Unclip or unbolt the old strut from the little ball studs at each end. And step 3. Press the new strut right onto those exact same mounting points until it securely clicks or bolts into place. It really is that simple.
And honestly, finding the exact right part isn't a hassle either. Gasitlift stocks gas struts for a massive variety of vehicles. We're talking sedans, hatchbacks, SUVs, or even canopy gas struts for a bakkie if you need to keep that lid up without fumbling with a locking arm. They also carry replacements for bonnet struts, and they have applications for older, discontinued, and really hard to find imported models that your main car dealers just don't even bother keeping on their shelves anymore.
Now here is a number that should give you some serious peace of mind. 24. Every single correctly rated gas strut supplied by Gasitlift carries a massive 24-month warranty. They stand entirely behind their OEM specifications, which means you are fully covered for 2 whole years, totally regardless of your vehicle's mileage or how many times a day you open and close that boot lid.
For drivers operating locally, the logistics are fantastic. If you're in Gauteng, whether you're at a workshop near the Santon CBD or a fitment point all the way over by the Union Buildings in Pretoria, same-day dispatch is completely standard on orders placed before midday. If you're further out, nationwide courier delivery typically just takes 2 to 3 business days. And hey, if the DIY steps we went through earlier just aren't your thing, there are options for professional installation right there in Gauteng, so you don't even have to lift a finger.
Getting this sorted out is incredibly easy. If you don't know your specific measurements, your newtons, or your lengths, please don't guess. Just send a quick WhatsApp or give them a call with your vehicle year, make, and model, and their team is going to confirm the exact fitment before anything is even dispatched. It completely takes all the guesswork out of the process. So before you suffer a nasty bump on the head or put completely unnecessary strain on your vehicle's hinges, take this knowledge and get those struts properly replaced. You now know the underlying mechanics, the 3 vital measurements, and that absolutely crucial orientation rule to make sure they last. The only question left is, are you going to keep using a dusty broomstick to hold up your boot, or are you going to take 10 minutes to master the simple physics of a gas strut? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and here's to a smoother, safer ride.